My name is Karen D. Navarra. I am 30 years old, and the last normal sound I remember from my relationship was the kettle whistling. It was a Tuesday evening. I was preparing tea for my boyfriend, Daniel, exactly the way he liked it. Honey, no milk, because he had told me his day had been difficult. Steam fogged the kitchen window, turning the city lights outside into blurred streaks of gold. For 2 years, that apartment had been ours. That evening, it felt like a stage, waiting for the final scene. Daniel had been disappearing from our relationship for weeks. Not physically, emotionally. His phone, once abandoned carelessly on the couch, now stayed inside his hand or rested face down against his thigh. Our conversations had become shorter. Plans were canceled. When I kissed him goodnight, he sometimes stiffened before remembering how to respond. I carried his tea into the living room. Daniel sat at the far end of the sofa, staring at his phone. A faint smile touched his mouth. It disappeared when he noticed me. "Thanks," he said, without meeting my eyes. His thumb continued moving across the screen. "Difficult day?" "Just long." I sat in the chair opposite him. The distance between us was only a few feet, but it felt like another country. Daniel placed the phone face down. A wall. I took a breath. "Who is Vanessa?" His head snapped toward me. Color drained from his face before returning in two guilty patches along his cheeks. I already knew. A week earlier, a notification appeared while he was showering. "Vanessa, I cannot stop thinking about last night." A winking face followed. I had tried to convince myself it was an innocent joke. My instincts knew better. "She is a coworker," Daniel said. "The coworker you text until 2 in the morning?" His shoulders stiffened. "She understands me." "And I do not?" "It is not that simple." He drew his knees up slightly, defensive before I had even accused him. "With you, everything is planned, safe. We have routines and responsibilities. Vanessa is spontaneous. She sees life differently. She makes you feel alive." Daniel looked surprised. "Yes." The word settled painfully between us. I thought about caring for him when he was sick, helping him through financial problems, attending every family obligation, and building the quiet life he once claimed he wanted. Apparently, none of that felt alive. "I love you," Daniel said. It was the cruelest sentence he could have chosen. "But I am not in love with you anymore. You feel like my best friend. Vanessa is the spark I have been missing." I remained silent. My calmness encouraged him. He leaned closer and placed one hand on my knee. "I am choosing her." His voice softened, almost tender. "I need to see where it goes." I looked down at his hand. Then he continued. "But Vanessa is unpredictable. She is not stable like you. It might not work." Stable sounded like an illness when he said it. "So I need a few months," he explained. "If it does not work out with her, we can talk." I slowly lifted his hand from my knee and placed it back in his lap. Daniel wanted freedom without consequence. He wanted to chase Vanessa while keeping me emotionally preserved for his return. "Do not close the door completely," he said. "Can you do that for me?" I looked into his eyes. There was no cruelty there, only entitlement. That was worse. "I understand." Confusion flickered across his face. He had expected tears, accusations, or begging. Instead, I watched him pack a suitcase. Before leaving, he stood beside the door. "Aren't you going to say anything?" "Drive safely." The door slammed behind him. For the first time in weeks, the apartment felt peaceful. I packed the belongings he left behind into 5 cardboard boxes: clothes, chargers, books, toiletries, and the framed photograph of us smiling at a wedding. I placed everything near the front door. Then I deleted his number. I removed his photograph from the contact. I blocked him on every platform. Finally, I sent one message. "Your remaining belongings will be outside apartment 4B tomorrow between 5 and 7. After 7, they will be donated. Your key no longer works." Daniel believed he had chosen Vanessa while keeping me in reserve. What he did not understand was that the moment he made me an option, he lost the right to choose me again. The following evening, Daniel arrived at 5:08. I had already placed the 5 boxes in the hallway outside apartment 4B. His name was written across each one in thick black marker. When he knocked, I opened the door, but did not step aside. Daniel looked tired, though not devastated. He had dressed carefully: dark jeans, a fitted jacket, and the expensive watch I gave him for our anniversary. He glanced past me into the apartment. Then he looked down at the boxes. "You changed the locks." "Yes." His face tightened. "That was fast. You made your decision quickly." Daniel let out a short breath and attempted a soft smile. "I know this is difficult for you." The performance had begun. He had arrived expecting to play the compassionate man who hated hurting me, but needed to follow his heart. I said nothing. He shifted his weight. "This is difficult for me too, Karen. I barely slept." "Your belongings are there." His eyes moved toward the boxes again. "Right." He remained in the doorway. "I want you to know I did not plan for this to happen. Vanessa and I connected unexpectedly. Sometimes feelings change." I leaned against the frame and waited. Daniel's careful expression began to crack beneath my silence. "I thought we could handle this like adults." "We are. You packed everything I left behind and changed the locks overnight. You moved out to pursue another woman. That does not mean I wanted to be erased." There it was. He wanted separation without loss. Freedom without finality. "I told you we might talk again in a few months," he continued. "I was trying to be honest." "You were asking me to wait. I was asking you not to throw away 2 years. You already did that." His mouth opened slightly. Then he laughed, but the sound was brittle. "You are not even going to fight for us?" I studied him. Daniel needed emotion from me. Tears would prove he was valuable. Anger would confirm I was unstable. Begging would allow him to leave feeling desired. My calmness gave him nothing. "There is nothing to fight for," I said. "You chose Vanessa. I am choosing a life where I am not someone's backup plan." "That is not what I meant." "It is exactly what you meant." His expression hardened. "You are being cold." "No, I am being clear." For several seconds we stared at each other. Then Daniel looked toward the apartment again. "I left some things inside." "Everything I found is in the boxes." "What about the photograph from Michael's wedding?" "Box 5. He flinched. "You packed the photograph?" "It belongs to both of us." "You may keep it." Daniel looked almost offended. "I thought you might want it." "I do not." That was when the reality finally reached him. He was not temporarily stepping away from our relationship. He had ended it. I had simply refused to preserve the ruins. Daniel lowered his voice. "Vanessa and I may not work out. That is no longer relevant to me. What if I realize I made a mistake?" "You will have learned something." His eyes sharpened. "So that is it?" "Yes." He waited, perhaps expecting my resolve to soften. It did not. "Goodbye, Daniel." I stepped back and closed the door. For a moment, there was silence on the other side. Then I heard cardboard scraping across the hallway floor, the elevator doors opening, and his footsteps disappearing. I returned to the kitchen and poured a glass of water. The apartment felt lighter. Not happy. Mine. During the first week, I moved through life like an astronaut untethered from gravity. Daniel's absence did not feel like constant pain. It felt like a fact I had not yet fully absorbed. I ate when I wanted. I slept through the night. I left a coffee mug beside the sink without anticipating criticism. I blocked Daniel on every social platform. I removed tagged photographs, shared calendars, and access to our streaming accounts. I changed passwords and separated the remaining joint expenses. I was not trying to appear strong. I was being thorough. I knew weakness sometimes arrived disguised as curiosity. One photograph of Daniel and Vanessa could become an hour of comparison. One late-night message could reopen the door he assumed would remain unlocked. So I removed every entrance. Our mutual friends became the only remaining thread. 2 weeks later, Mark, an old college friend, asked me to meet for coffee. He stirred his drink for too long before speaking. So, Daniel and Vanessa are officially together. That was the plan. He says she is exciting. I hope he enjoys it. Mark searched my face. They are taking a weekend trip to the coast. Good for them. You are handling this strangely well. There is nothing left to handle. I changed the subject. A month after Daniel left, another friend sent me a message. Vanessa had canceled the coastal trip because she had made plans with other friends and forgotten to tell Daniel. Apparently, he called her unreliable. I deleted the message without replying. Meanwhile, I began rebuilding the parts of myself I had slowly neglected. I joined a climbing gym. I focused on the Henderson project at work and produced my strongest presentation in years. I reconnected with friends who asked how I was, rather than requesting details about Daniel. By the second month, the updates became darker. A former coworker told me Daniel had visited her office looking exhausted. He complained that Vanessa caused scenes in restaurants, disappeared for hours, and ignored plans whenever something more exciting appeared. He had begun comparing her to me. Karen would never embarrass me in public. Karen always kept her word. I felt no joy hearing that. Only confirmation. Unstable people eventually create unstable lives. 10 weeks after our breakup, Mark called again. His voice was awkward. Vanessa ended it. I remained silent. She sent Daniel a text saying he was too needy and too focused on the past. The irony was exact. Daniel had left me because stability felt suffocating. Now Vanessa had abandoned him because he wanted consistency. Mark cleared his throat. He is devastated. He may contact you. That would be a mistake. He knows he was wrong. Knowing something after it destroys you is not the same as understanding the person you hurt. Mark hesitated. Everyone deserves a second chance. Daniel used his chance when he asked me to wait while he tested another relationship. I ended the call. The spark had burned out in less than 3 months. Now Daniel was about to discover that the safety net he left behind had already been removed. The first message arrived 6 months after Daniel walked out. An unknown number. Hey. It's Daniel. Please don't block this one. I just need 5 minutes. I read it once, then blocked the number. 2 days later, another appeared. Karen, I made the biggest mistake of my life. Blocked. Then came the voicemail. His voice sounded tired, rough around the edges in a way I had never heard before. Vanessa wasn't who I thought she was. She lied. She manipulated me, and I finally understand what I threw away. Please, Karen, just let me explain. I listened to the entire message. Then I deleted it. Not because I hated him, because nothing inside me moved anymore. A week later, his sister Melissa called. She skipped every greeting. Karen, this has gone on long enough. Has it? Daniel is depressed. Vanessa destroyed him. You know how hard he loved. I almost smiled. He loved excitement. That isn't fair. No, it isn't. Melissa sighed dramatically. You owe him one conversation after everything you shared. No, you're really that cold now? I learned from experience that being available to someone who already chose another person isn't kindness. It's self-destruction. She was silent. Then she tried one last angle. He says he still loves you. I believe he misses what I did for him. I ended the call. 3 days later, Daniel emailed my work account. I know I don't deserve your time. I just want you to know Vanessa cheated on me with someone from work. She left while I was at a client meeting. I came home to an empty apartment. Karma got me. Please. I closed the email without replying. Dr. Hayes, my therapist, asked about it during our next session. What did you feel? I expected to feel satisfaction. And? I mostly felt tired. She nodded. That means you're healing. How? You stopped needing his suffering to validate your pain. That answer stayed with me. The updates kept arriving through mutual friends. Vanessa's exciting lifestyle had become increasingly chaotic. She constantly canceled plans. She disappeared for entire weekends. She borrowed money from Daniel but never repaid it. Then she left, the same way he had left me. One suitcase, one conversation, one decision. Except she didn't even offer him the courtesy of pretending he could wait for her. She simply texted him, "You're holding me back." When Mark told me that part, I closed my eyes. The irony was almost unbearable. Daniel had dismissed stability because it lacked excitement. Now instability had abandoned him because he wanted commitment. Life has an unsettling sense of symmetry. About a month later, I met someone. His name was Michael. He worked as a civil engineer and somehow found traffic patterns fascinating enough to discuss over dinner. I teased him relentlessly for it. He teased me for color-coding grocery lists. There was no performance between us. No emotional roller coaster. No constant need to prove affection through chaos. On our fourth date, we were eating dinner when his phone vibrated. He glanced at the screen. His expression barely changed. "Everything okay?" I asked. "My ex." The old reflex tightened somewhere inside me. "Do you need to answer?" He looked genuinely confused. "No." He turned the phone over. "She's been trying new numbers after I blocked the old ones." "You're just going to ignore it?" "I'm having dinner with you." He smiled. "That seems more important." Something inside my chest loosened. Such a tiny moment. Yet it carried more reassurance than months of arguments with Daniel ever had. Respect did not require negotiations. It simply existed. A few weeks later, Jake invited us to his birthday barbecue. "Daniel might be there," he warned. "That's okay." "Are you sure?" "Yes." For the first time, I meant it. When Michael and I arrived, laughter filled the backyard. Music played softly. People gathered around the grill. Then I saw Daniel standing alone near the fence. He noticed me immediately. His eyes widened when he saw Michael beside me. He hesitated. Then he started walking toward us. Michael leaned slightly closer. "You want me to stay?" I smiled gently. "Yes." Daniel stopped a few feet away. He looked thinner, older somehow. His confidence had disappeared. "Karen." His voice barely carried across the yard. "You look happy." "I am." He glanced at Michael. "So, you really moved on?" "Yes." He swallowed. "I hoped maybe there was still a chance." Michael quietly stepped back, giving us space without leaving. Daniel looked at me with exhausted eyes. "I finally understand what you meant." "No," I said softly. "You finally understand what it feels like." He closed his eyes. "That's fair." "No." I shook my head. "It's simply true." Daniel glanced toward Michael again. "Can we talk somewhere private?" I looked around the backyard. Several people were pretending not to watch us. "There is nothing private left between us." His face tightened, but he nodded as though accepting a punishment. "Vanessa destroyed me," he said. "She cheated. She lied. She made me feel like I was never enough." I held his gaze. "That sounds painful." It was. He stepped closer. "And every time she disappeared, every time she ignored me, I thought about you. I thought about how you always showed up." The confession was not romantic. It was an inventory. He missed consistency because chaos had exhausted him. "I took you for granted," he continued. "I treated stability like boredom because I had never experienced what it felt like to lose it. That is something you should work through. With you." "No." His expression fell. "I know I do not deserve forgiveness immediately. We can start slowly. Coffee. One conversation. I can prove I have changed." "Daniel, you are still making this about what you need." He blinked. "I came here to apologize. You came because Vanessa left and you discovered I was not waiting. That is not fair. You told me you were choosing her. You asked me to keep the door open in case it failed." His eyes lowered. I was confused. "You were entitled." The word landed harder than anger would have. "You believed you could test another relationship while I stayed emotionally frozen. You expected to return whenever the excitement ended." I did not understand what I was saying. I understood perfectly. Daniel's voice cracked. 2 years meant something. They did. Then how can you act like I am nothing? I am not saying you were nothing. I paused. I am saying you no longer belong in my present. He looked past me toward Michael, who was speaking quietly with Jake, but still watching from a respectful distance. Does he know everything? Yes. And he is okay with it? He does not believe my past gives you access to me. Daniel flinched. I loved you. You loved what I provided. That is not true. Then why did you only recognize my value after Vanessa stopped providing excitement? He opened his mouth. No answer came. The silence between us was different from the one in our apartment months earlier. Back then, it had been filled with betrayal. Now, it contained only truth. Daniel wiped his eyes. I thought you would wait. I know. I thought you loved me enough. I loved you enough to let you make your choice. His face twisted. And now? Now I love myself enough not to undo the consequences. For several seconds, he stood motionless. Then he whispered, I am sorry. I believe you. Hope appeared in his eyes. But forgiveness does not mean restoration. The hope disappeared. I stepped back. Take care of yourself, Daniel. He looked as though he wanted to argue, but the people nearby were watching and he had finally run out of explanations. He nodded once. Then he walked toward the gate and left alone. Michael approached after Daniel disappeared. You okay? Yes. He studied my face. You sure? I smiled. I expected that conversation to feel bigger. And? It felt finished. Michael reached for my hand. We stayed at the party. We ate cake, laughed with friends, and left when we were tired. Not because Daniel had appeared, but because the evening had reached its natural end. Several weeks later, Michael was at my apartment helping me cook dinner when someone knocked. Rain streaked the windows. Garlic and red wine filled the kitchen. I opened the door. Daniel stood in the hallway, soaked and trembling. His eyes moved past me toward the warm apartment. Karen, please, he said. I made a mistake. I want to come home. Before I could answer, Michael called from the kitchen. Babe, is everything okay? The sauce is ready? Daniel's face went completely pale. He had finally arrived for the conversation he assumed would always be available. But someone else was standing inside the future he abandoned. Daniel stood in the hallway with rainwater dripping from his hair onto the floor. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. His eyes moved from my face to the warm light behind me, then back again. Who is that? He asked, though he already knew. My boyfriend. The word landed with visible force. Daniel's lips parted. You have a boyfriend? Yes. But at Jake's party, you said... I said I had moved on. He shook his head as though refusing the meaning could change it. I thought you were just dating casually. That was not your concern then, and it is not your concern now. From the kitchen, Michael called again. Karen? I'm fine, I answered. Give me a minute. Daniel stared past me, listening to the ordinary sounds of another man inside the apartment he once considered his guaranteed destination, a spoon against a pan, soft music, a life continuing without him. I came because I need to fix this, he said. There is nothing left to fix between us. Please do not say that. His voice cracked. Vanessa dumped me. She used me. She made me feel disposable. I watched him carefully. And now you understand how that feels. I do. No. You understand how it feels when it happens to you. He flinched. That is why I'm here. I know I was wrong. You already told me that. But seeing you with someone else? He stopped himself. The truth had escaped anyway. His regret had become urgent only after discovering that someone else now occupied the place he assumed remained available. Daniel stepped closer. You told me you loved me. I did. Then how could you replace me so quickly? I did not replace you. I kept my voice calm. I rebuilt my life after you left it. That is the same thing. No, it only feels that way because you believed my life would pause while you tested yours with Vanessa. Rain struck the hallway window behind him. Daniel wiped his face with one hand. I said we could talk if things did not work out. You said that as though I needed your permission to wait. I was scared. You were selfish. He closed his eyes. I know. For once, there was no argument behind the admission, but accountability arriving after consequences did not create obligation. I am sorry Vanessa hurt you, I said, but I am not the emergency exit from the life you chose. Daniel looked over my shoulder again. Does he know you were going to marry me? Yes. Does he know everything? Yes. And he is still there? He understands that my history with you does not make me unfinished. Daniel's face crumpled. Karen, I came here because I thought there was still something. There was. I paused. You destroyed it when you asked me to remain available while you chose another woman. I did not think you would actually move on. I know. That was the most honest thing between us. He thought love made me permanent. He thought loyalty meant I would wait. He mistook my devotion for an inability to leave. I cannot go back, I said. Cannot, or will not? Both. His eyes filled with tears. We had a home. You left it. We had plans. You replaced them. We had 2 years. And now they are over. He whispered my name like it was an argument. I felt no anger, no satisfaction, only a quiet certainty. You were right about one thing, Daniel. He looked up. It did not work out with Vanessa. His breathing stopped for half a second. But you were wrong about everything else. We do not have anything to discuss. I did not spend 3 months waiting for you to decide whether I was worth returning to. I placed one hand on the door. My life moved forward. He stared at me, finally understanding that the backup plan had become someone else's present. Please, he said one last time. I hope you heal. Then I closed the door. The latch clicked softly. There was no shouting from the hallway, only a muffled sob, followed by slow footsteps moving toward the elevator. When I returned to the kitchen, Michael had lowered the heat beneath the sauce. He did not demand details. He simply asked, "Are you okay?" I stepped closer and wrapped my arms around him. Yes. And I meant it. Daniel's collapse was never my victory. My victory was realizing that being stable did not make me boring, being loyal did not make me disposable, and loving someone did not require me to remain available after they treated me like an option. The past came to my door asking to be let back in. I left it outside. Then I returned to dinner, to warmth, and to the life that had kept moving without it.